Yo, what's up everybody? Brooke YB here, and today we're diving deep into some serious intellectual waters with Noam Chomsky's Profit Over People, Neoliberalism and Global Order. Now I know what you might be thinking, Chomsky? Isn't he like for brainy folks? Yeah, he's a brilliant linguist and political activist, but don't let that scare you. This book, it's like a wake-up call, and trust me, you don't need a PhD to understand it. Chomsky writes in a way that's accessible to everyone, breaking down complex ideas into digestible pieces. Chomsky breaks down this complex thing called neoliberalism, basically the idea that the free market solves everything, and shows how it actually hurts more than it helps. He uses real-world examples to make his points clear. He's talking about the stuff we see every day, the gap between the rich and poor getting wider, corporations having more power than people, and our planet paying the price. It's a reality check we all need. Profit over people is more relevant than ever because these issues are everywhere. From the news we watch to the social media we scroll through, the impact of neoliberal policies is undeniable. It's time to get informed and understand what's really going on. Knowledge is power, and Chomsky arms us with the information we need to make a difference. Chomsky doesn't just point fingers, he gives you the knowledge to understand the system and fight for a better world. He empowers us to take action and challenge the status quo. So buckle up, because we're about to unpack some serious truth bombs. Let's do this. Get ready to see the world through a new lens. All right, let's break it down. Neoliberalism is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? Chomsky says neoliberalism is like this sneaky virus that infected the world, spreading its influence far and wide. It pretends to be about freedom and opportunity, but in reality it's all about concentrating wealth and power in the hands of a few elite individuals and corporations. Imagine a world where corporations call the shots, governments are their puppets, and ordinary people are left fighting over the scraps. This isn't just a dystopian fantasy, it's a reality for many. That's the nightmare Chomsky warns us about. He paints a grim picture of a world dominated by corporate interests. He argues that neoliberalism pushes this idea that the free market can solve any problem, from healthcare to education to the environment. But here's the catch. It's not really free. The market is manipulated to benefit those at the top. It's rigged in favor of the rich and powerful, leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. They get tax breaks, subsidies and bailouts, while the rest of us struggle to make ends meet. This creates a huge imbalance in society. Chomsky exposes this hypocrisy, showing how neoliberalism creates inequality, undermines democracy and destroys the environment. It's a triple threat. This ain't just some abstract theory, it's a lived reality for millions of people around the globe. Chomsky brings the receipts, showing how neoliberal policies have played out in the real world, from Chile to Russia to right here in the good old USA. The evidence is undeniable. He argues that these policies have led to massive wealth inequality, eroded public services, and fueled environmental destruction. The consequences are severe. Basically, it's a raw deal for most of us. The system is broken, and it's up to us to understand it and demand change. Now, let's talk about freedom. Neoliberalism loves to throw that word around, right? But Chomsky argues that under this system, real freedom is an illusion. Sure, you might have a million different brands of cereal to choose from, but what about the things that really matter? Things like affordable healthcare, quality education, and a decent paying job. Chomsky argues that neoliberalism actually limits our choices. When corporations control everything, from the media we consume to the politicians who supposedly represent us, our options become incredibly narrow. It's like being trapped in a maze designed by billionaires, where the only way out is to keep consuming and conforming. This lack of real choice affects every aspect of our lives. Can't afford healthcare? Tough luck. Can't afford college? Too bad. Stuck in a dead-end job? That's just the market doing its thing, right? Chomsky challenges this narrative, arguing that we need to reclaim our power and create a system that prioritizes people over profit. Here's the thing about neoliberalism. It's a giant wealth transfer scheme disguised as economic policy. Chomsky argues that it systematically funnels money from the bottom to the top, making the rich richer and leaving everyone else behind. We're talking about a level of inequality that would make even Marie Antoinette blush. Chomsky points to things like tax cuts for the wealthy, deregulation of industries, and the weakening of labor unions as key drivers of this trend. He argues that these policies create a system where the deck is stacked against working people, while CEOs and shareholders rake in record profits. It's like playing a game of Monopoly, where one player starts with all the hotels and the rest of us are stuck with Baltic Avenue. This isn't just unfair, it's dangerous. When a tiny elite hoards all the wealth and power, it undermines democracy, fuels social unrest, and creates a breeding ground for extremism. Chomsky warns that if we don't address this growing inequality, it will tear our societies apart. From Chile to America, real-world examples of neoliberalism's impact. Chomsky doesn't just talk theory, he brings the receipts. He meticulously documents his claims, providing a wealth of evidence to support his arguments. He backs up his arguments with real-world examples of how neoliberal policies have played out across the globe, affecting millions of lives in the process. One example he discusses is Chile under the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, a period marked by severe repression and economic experimentation. After a US-backed coup in 1973, Chile became a testing ground for neoliberal policies, implemented with brutal efficiency and little regard for human rights. The result? While some wealthy Chileans prospered, the majority of the population suffered from increased poverty, unemployment, and social unrest. The social fabric of the country was torn apart. Chomsky argues that Chile's experience is a cautionary tale, demonstrating the devastating consequences of unchecked neoliberalism. It serves as a stark warning to other nations. He also points to the rise of neoliberalism in the United States, starting with the Reagan administration in the 1980s, which marked a significant shift in economic policy. He argues that policies like deregulation, tax cuts for the wealthy, and the weakening of labor unions have contributed to the massive income inequality and social problems we see today. These policies have reshaped the American economic landscape. From the decline of the middle class to the opioid crisis, Chomsky connects the dots between neoliberal policies and their real-world consequences. He paints a comprehensive picture of how these policies have affected everyday lives. Brooke YB's 2 cents, my thoughts on Chomsky's powerful critique. Look, I'm not going to lie, Profit Over People is a heavy read. It's packed with information, history, and analysis that can be overwhelming at times, but here's the thing, it's also incredibly important. Chomsky opened my eyes to the ways in which this system we live in is rigged against most of us. I used to think that if you just worked hard, you could achieve anything. But Chomsky made me realize that the rules of the game are different for different people. The rich and powerful have rigged the system in their favor, and it's getting harder and harder for the rest of us to get ahead. But here's the good news. Knowledge is power. Once you understand how the system works, you can start to fight back. You can organize, you can educate others, and you can demand a better world. That's what Chomsky's work is all about, empowering people to challenge the status quo and create a more just and equitable society. Beyond the book resources for further exploration, Profit Over People is just the tip of the iceberg. If you're ready to dive deeper into Chomsky's work and the critique of neoliberalism, there are tons of resources out there. Check out some of his other books like Manufacturing Consent and Understanding Power. You can also find countless lectures, interviews, and articles online where Chomsky breaks down complex issues in his signature, insightful, and accessible style. Looking for something a little more visual? There are some great documentaries that explore these themes, like Requiem for the American Dream and the Corporation. These films offer a powerful and engaging look at the impact of corporate power, economic inequality, and the erosion of democracy. The point is, this is just the beginning. Chomsky provides a roadmap, but it's up to us to take the journey. Educate yourself, connect with others, and join the fight for a better world. Why you should read Profit Over People. So why should you read this book? Because it's time to wake up. We've been sold a lie about how the world works, and it's time to see the truth. Profit Over People is a call to action, a challenge to think critically about the system we live in and demand better. It's not always easy to face uncomfortable truths, but it's necessary. This book will empower you with the knowledge and understanding to see through the propaganda and fight for a more just and equitable world. We can't afford to be silent any longer. Whether you're a seasoned activist or just starting to question the status quo, this book is a must-read. It's a powerful reminder that another world is possible, but we have to fight for it. Final thoughts: knowledge is power. We've covered a lot of ground today, but the most important takeaway is this: knowledge is power. The more we understand about the forces shaping our world, the better equipped we are to change it. Profit over people is a powerful tool for understanding the challenges we face and the possibilities for creating a more just and equitable future. So what are you waiting for? Pick up a copy of the book, dive in, and join the conversation. The future is in our hands. Peace out.